I just learned that pretty much most of the men of Home Alone are trash, especially this guy. Okay, so my mutual is talking about Biff. Now, this was like, perfect casting. He looks like a bully. Did you know that this guy is allegedly a rapist and a domestic abuser? I'm going to get to him in a minute. But apparently all the men, not all, but a lot of the men from this classic, like criminals or just like, okay, just look. So I did a dive into this today because my husband saw that Biff is a rapist and was like, babe, did you see this? So then I just typed in his name and I came up with this. As much as I hate the Sun because they slut shamed me for being a cougar. Like, I'm not even kidding. That's me. They did a whole article about me. Remind me to tell y'all the emails they sent me. Next level. Like all the men were either terrible or like were messed up. Now I think Macaulay Culkin and the Culkins in general need their own video. And they're so messed up because their dad. I mean, their parents, but especially their dad. And that would take a whole video. We know that Kieran, who is, plays one of the worst human beings ever, but we love him. Succession, amazing performance. I also follow his wife on Instagram and I appreciate how much they're trying to keep their children out of the public eye. Both of these brothers have basically said that their dad was like not a good person. And Kieran even said he never even looked at him as a dad. He was just kind of like this dude who's like around who made their lives hard. Macaulay once said on the What the Hump podcast that their dad just disappeared for 3 months. And y'all, I've done videos on this before. The father was physically and mentally abusive and was jealous of their success. I need literally a whole video on that. Y'all know I talk about that a lot. So many of these men hate themselves so much and are so insecure, and then they go on to have children, and their children who become successful remind them of what losers they are, and they punish their children for mirroring back to them how much they suck. Not just as fathers, but just as a human being and a failed fill in the blank, whatever they wanted to be. But did you know that the dad is like on the lower level of the king baby spectrum? In real life, trash. So he was married 3 times, has 3 kids. So one of his wife was Melissa Leo. That marriage only lasted 6 months. Back to her in a second. Throughout the 90s, he faced a number of offenses and was found guilty of trespassing in his ex's home. He was also charged with 3rd-degree assault after allegedly slapping Melissa Leo, stalking her and their son, and beating up her partner. Sounds like trash! And she even told People magazine that she felt afraid for the safety of her and her son. Apparently, one of his kids with his second wife died, and his wife said that this kid died peacefully in his sleep. Look at this, y'all. And was in deep grief due to allegedly not having a father participating in his life. These men just love to have kids they don't want to take care of. Or that they're jealous of. Like this dude. Blah. So then there's John Candy. I love John Candy. Anyone who is like a Gen Xer who grew up with, this dude was in like everything. And it's not that he was trash, but like so many men, he clearly had addictions. And we know, like I talk about here all the time, it's not that I don't have empathy for men with addictions. I've had plenty of them in my family who I have loved, and I have struggled with my own addictions. I have lots of empathy for people with addictions, but I have a lot less empathy for men with addictions who never get help. Because in this system of patriarchy, those men end up harming a lot of people, especially women and children. And because of the way women are raised, we end up taking care of addicts all the time to our own detriment. And sometimes we die trying to save addicts because of our own codependency. Go get help for that if you do that a lot. He died like tragically young at 43. While he died of a heart attack, he battled weight issues his whole life, but he was also a heavy drinker and smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. Cigarettes. And it was claimed that he became addicted to during his time in Hollywood. So there was a lot of things playing into his heart issues. This was a tragedy. But again, be curious to see what women were taking care of him, because there's always at least one. Wife, girlfriend, sister, mother, daughters, daughter-in-laws. There's always a woman taking care of or trying to save these men. Please stop trying to save men. Anyway, we got Joe Pesci. Now, he's not, I don't know. I haven't looked into this guy much. I don't know much about him, but he does have a crazy story. He's also been married 3 times. But one of his partners, was accused of hiring a hitman to unalive a former husband. Like, went and like pew-pewed him 4 times. And then she was, she's in prison for 12 years for that. So that doesn't really have anything to say. That's not about Joe Pesci, but rather like the Home Alone crew is not doing so great. But mostly it's the men. Again, for the Culkin kids, I will always have so much more sympathy for child actors. I don't know how any of them make it out of Hollywood alive, to be honest. I also don't have a whole lot of empathy for child actors who are adults who never get help and then end up torturing other women. Anyway, now let's get to this guy, Biff. God. A lot of times we end up finding out that actors pretty much are the characters they play. I mean, Kevin Spacey, it was not that hard to believe that he sucks. He's a little too good at playing psychos. And that's why I like all these dudes who are like, method actors, and they always want to play terrible people. You will never convince me they don't actually want to be that person or aren't that person. But let's get into how much this kid sucks as an adult. So years ago, he was at this like Christmas con thing with his girlfriend at the time. So the couple apparently went out, drinking at a couple bars. The girlfriend claims that he drank a whole bottle of wine and 10 shots of liquor. So, could this be yet another man in Hollywood who has a substance abuse problem? I will never blame the substances on these men's violence, because there are lots of people who drink just as much and do just as many wrongs and would never do any of that. I am saying, clearly the dude's got problems already. These 2 female fans approached them and asked for a signed autograph photo or whatever. And the girlfriend gives them a photo for free without charging him. And he didn't like that, she did that without his permission. Like, dude, you're like, nobody cares who you are. And he's like, yeah. I'm not like, Hollywood makes people who are really insecure monsters. The business itself will take whatever's going on and heighten it, right? So some people end up being okay in Hollywood, but most of them end up being awful people because the system itself, the way they treat these stars, the ego, unresolved trauma, that stuff, you mix Hollywood with that and it's just like the perfect storm for king baby making, for narcissistic tendencies, whatever. So he was so mad, he took her back to the hotel and started, trigger warning, choking her. She couldn't breathe. And then he says, this is how you die, as he continued to. Oh, this is alleged. Okay, I have to say that. But I believe her. So she bit his hand trying to get away. And then, he started punching her. And then when she got away, she came back to get her stuff, threw her against the desk. So all this was done to her face, okay? There were marks. But of course, he claims he never touched her. I don't know where all these marks came from. This right here is another reason why people hate cops. So the cops were called. They talked to her. They didn't think there was anything sufficient enough to arrest him. So they're like, sorry. Of course, he played a cop in... like, this was actually very accurate. Just bully to cop pipeline is so strong. So after this story broke, one of his other victims came forward. So she was his friend. 15-year friendship. And then she sees this in the headlines. Lisa Smith, she says, seeing that he's accused of assaulting someone else, I realized I had to come forward so to prevent him from hurting more women. Now, just look at this. They had a 15-year friendship. When men wonder why we don't even want to be their friends a lot of times, 15-year friendship, y'all. Can you imagine having a 15-year friendship with someone? That's like next level friend. And then one night they decide to like drug you and grape you. I mean, this is not that uncommon, unfortunately. So he did this. She originally didn't report it and do like a rank kit due to a different assault that she'd had and the police not handling that well. I mean, honestly, the police are like the bad guys in every story, I swear to God. And she changed her mind a few weeks later and decided to report it. The detective claimed that she didn't want to file charges. She wanted to file charges. She flew all the way to New York to meet with the district attorney. After a year of them ghosting her, she found some clothes from that night. She keeps trying to get justice, y'all. And they just don't care. And she's like, why would I have met with them if I didn't want to press charges like these cops? They lie. Anyway, don't date actors.